Hey, and welcome to episode number 11 of Candid Conversations. Bill, how is it going this evening?
It's peachy. We usually, actually, I think we're usually, well, because we cut the other one, it's usually a little bit later, but it's not too bad. Well, I think I told you about this. I did tell you about this. I got myself a Kindle, and I was actually using it the past 2 nights, and I was actually going to bed a little earlier. So
Because you were excited to read?
Yeah. Yeah, well, because what I would usually do, 10 o'clock I lay down, and then I'll just relax and watch TV, until I pass out, like around 12 o'clock or so. I'll set the timer on my TV. And
oh, that's nice.
yeah, last 2 nights I didn't do any of that. I laid in bed. It's like, okay, well, actually last night I think it was about 9:30.
You dropped the tablet on your face.
Yeah, exactly.
I always saw memes about that, but then I've done that. I'm like, ooh, that is it's not a fun experience.
No. Well, I haven't dropped it on my face just yet. I haven't fallen asleep with it, but it's been nice because it's got a whole dark and light mode. So I like the dark mode because I think the light mode. Same thing with my phone. I think the light mode.
Because you like Darth Vader. We already know that.
Yes,
the dark.
The dark side, but it's less of a strain on the eyes. So I mean that's why I use it. But it's really nice just to read a little bit, relax, and then set it on the not the counter. What's the thing next to your bed?
Nightstand.
There you go. Set it on that thing, and just pass out. So it was really nice. I've been getting up a little bit earlier because of that. I don't know how long that's going to last.
And how did the eclipse go? Because you're in Ohio, and that was one of the spots where you could see it, I guess you could say. And so what did that look like briefly?
Well, it's not the end of the world as people
I know, we're still here. Darn.
I actually messaged somebody the other day. I was like, you and your mom didn't get raptured yet, did you? And then I was
we're still here.
Yeah, I was hoping that they would wait, because it was it yesterday morning, afternoon, I think. And I messaged them specifically because the previous week or something they were asking my thoughts on it. So I was like, all right, we'll kind of keep this going. But it was like sometime in the morning, which I mentioned. I asked them, and I was thinking, I was like, I hope I don't hear back for them for at least another day, because I know they're
you a little bit nervous.
Well, so that way, because I was wanting to draw it out a little bit, and then type up some message like I'm paranoid and freaking out. Where are you, kind of thing. But I saw they were active on social media, so I was like, okay, I obviously knew nothing happened, but
they're not a true believer. What? Huh? No.
Right?
Oh, that's so mean.
I actually had a coworker say something about that, or somebody, I can't remember who it was. Somebody said something about that. It's like, yeah, there's a reason why you're still here, Bill. It's like, oh,
ooh.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was a very beautiful experience.
Did it actually go dark?
It did. It was like
because I've never seen that. I've seen where I'm at, it's a little something, but I saw people on Instagram where I'm like, oh, it's actually dark,
yeah,
nighttime.
It was by comparison, it was 8:30, 9 o'clock darkness. It was really cool.
That's so cool.
I've seen
a
partial.
Listen to the song.
I started it for the first minute, and then I was like, okay, we're done with this.
You got sick of it?
I did. So, but
you're
yeah,
it was... spirit, in thought, it was a nice idea, but
yeah,
we don't need this woman ruining my moment.
And it didn't last as long either. It was probably only a minute or two, but it was really... honestly blown away. I took a picture of it, which didn't even do justice. My phone captured too much of the light coming from the total eclipse.
Oh, because it tries to self-correct.
Yeah.
We want you to see. You're like, no, I want to see the dark.
Yeah, and those pictures you see of a black circle with a white line around it, that's exactly what it looked like. And I saw a little solar flare, and I was like, this is the coolest thing.
And you had special glasses, or no? You couldn't
look
at it?
Yeah, you had to have basically pitch dark glasses, because I tried looking just at the general scenery of the town with them, couldn't see anything, and I took one of them. It's just basically those cardboard 3D glasses you get at the movies, but with a different type of lens, and so I cut one of those up and taped it to my phone so that way I could look through it there as well, so I can try to take a picture with it, and. So, yeah, it was just really cool. I had my friend of mine calling me, kind of saying how stupid I was, because it was like the partial eclipse. You'd see the moon just start to come over it, and I was like, oh, somebody took another bite out of the cookie. Ow, ow, ow. just like staring at the sun. It's like yummy. And my friend's looking at me. He's like, Bill, you're stupid. I was like, arr, arr.
This is what we live for as adults. Anything that's a little bit different.
Right.
You're like, and we were just missing the cicadas because Bill had sent me a recipe for cicadas. I was like, remove the shell, the soft shell cicada recipe or something disgusting.
It was so gross.
It's probably a joke, but I was like, but even still, to put the thought into like creating
who would do that? I don't know. But yeah, it was pretty good. I just went over to my friends and we did that. So
here in California, I don't think, like, it was around 11 a.m., but I was working or doing something, and I was like, I don't think anything happened. But I know even people here were like, one of my friends, she's probably watching this, Jonah. So, hey, Jonah, if you are, he works at a retail, and everyone was, he said, calling, like, do you have any glasses? And he's like, no. And I was thinking, I'm like, do they not understand? There's a very specific line that, the states in those are the ones that are going to need the glasses and go through all of that. But I think it's one of those, like, the fear of missing out. Like, we all just want to partake in this. And I was just like, nothing bad happened that I could tell, but I think that's part of the plan.
Right. Well, the next one's
we're
going
all
to be
here,
in,
so hooray.
Next one's going to be in 2045, I think, because I looked it up out of curiosity.
Will we still be alive? Probably.
I don't know. Maybe. Might have a whole another rapture thing going on at the next eclipse. But Montana, not Oklahoma, Montana, Dakotas, Canada, and I think like Alaska, like that's kind of the region that's going to get it. And I was thinking about it that day, like the Mondays when we had the eclipse, and I was thinking about that, like I want 20 years from now, I want to go see this thing again. So I was like, that's enough time to save up some money to spend, $1,000, $2,000 for a hotel at the night at an overpriced hotel because of the eclipse.
Yeah.
So,
man.
But,
and on that note, I thought it would be fun. Would you ever want to travel to space? And if so, where would you want to go? And we can look at this two different ways. So, like, right now, because I think we're getting close to where you can pay a ton of money just to go up to space. But then also maybe in the future, they'll have the little hubs out there where you can potentially live for vacation.
So are we talking about fictional or realistic?
Take it however you want. Yeah, I was thinking realistic, like now, because some people, their dream, like as you talk about the eclipse and the solar system, like, I just want to go out there, and like they're so excited because the common person is getting closer to being able to do that. Right. So I'm interested, like, is that in your heart a desire you have?
Well, I've never thought about it. I mean, I thought it'd be kind of cool to go to space, or like, I mean, as long as I'm secured and know I'm not going to drift off into the empty void of space and die. I thought I've always thought it'd be cool to just be in space.
Just go up and then come back down.
Well, like, like Superman, for an example, he go up and recharges and everything. He's just chilling out there looking at the world. I was like, I think something like that would be cool, is to just literally just be out in space, just kind of floating or hovering, whatever you do, and just look down at this big, massive rock. Which actually, funny thing is, I want to share real quick before I forget, I got criticized because all the planets for that eclipse was visible, or they're like, it's supposed to be like a whole alignment kind of thing. And I got, criticized for that because I was counting. I was like, one. It's like, wait, all the planets are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're missing some. We're missing 2. And
Pluto.
Yeah, Pluto's technically. Pluto. Well, it apparently depends on the categorization.
I did a whole report in like second grade on Pluto, and I'm like, and you just destroyed my childhood because I had a really cool diorama.
Right.
Like,
my very educated mother just served us 9 pies. But so yeah, I was wondering where the 8th planet was. Like, there's still 8. We're still missing another one. And I was like, well, you're standing. My friend of mine was like, Bill, you're stupid. You're standing on it. It's like, oh yeah,
Earth. Yes.
But yeah, I think
you're like, we are not of this world.
Right. If I was to, I should have said that. If I was to go to space, I'd probably want to go. I don't know. I'd probably just want to go see the nebulas, because I really want to get a telescope, which I've been putting off because I was like, I'm going to get this thing, I'm going to use it once, and then it's going to sit in the corner, collect dust. So I passed up on it, but I still was like, I want to get one because I want to see these things. The nebulas themselves just look so beautiful. So that's what I'd probably go. If I could go to space, if there was nothing hindering me, no financials, technical, nothing, I'd want to go to space and just explore the nebulas.
Yeah, I think for myself, I have no no
None?
interest whatsoever. And I've read books that are in space and I can't stand them. And I think some of the sci-fi movies are kind of cool, but then when I think of it, I'm just like, ugh, man, it's, and even the ones where they're like climbing on, the very dramatic, I'm like, that just looks awful. It looks awful.
Yeah.
And I haven't traveled much of our own world, so I'm like, I need to go to Hawaii. I need to go to the
I gotta go to all these things
hit
before
a
I go
bunch
check out
of
the Final
like
Frontier.
just in America, and then that's not even covering Europe and
Right.
all the other continents. So I'm like, I'd rather see some of those first, but I like the beachy in a swimsuit sort of thing. I'm like, I don't think you do that in space. So but if I went up to space, I think just the moon, I'd be content. Like, let's go to the moon. We can do that much faster than
Right.
in those movies they have like the light speed and we can get there. I'm like, in reality, to go to what, like 2 or 3 planets away, you'd get there and you can't live long enough to come back.
Yeah,
Something
takes quite a
like
few
that where
years.
like your whole life will be traveling to that planet. You can do a lot of cool stuff and then you'll be too old. So I'm like, oh. But I think I always wonder too if people are just like maybe non-Christians or like obsessed with that because that's something where they feel like, I don't know how to say it, but like they're reaching a different dimension or like getting out of this world. And I'm like, I just don't have that in me. But I think it's also partly me. It's like I'm just a little more simple when it comes to that, because I know some people, regardless of religion, are just like, there's so much there, and I think there is a lot of cool stuff.
Well, you can clearly tell that somebody's not a Star Trek fan.
And I never watched that. I did like Star Wars though. I watched they have a cartoon, The Prodigy, on Netflix.
Mhm.
It's for kids. It's on Nickelodeon, but it was actually really good. So I would recommend it. Like the character design was good, the storyline was good. You couldn't tell it was made for kids. But besides, like there was no swearing or like bad content in it.
Right. See, and that's one that I've been curious and checking it out, but I'm like I've shared before, I'm not as like excited about Star Wars as I used to be. But like
Under the new leadership.
pretty much, yeah. I'll still watch them to kind of keep up with the story. But like when I can't remember what number it was. Was it 8, 9, and 10? Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. 7, 8, 9. With Rey. Well, she didn't technically have a last name, but Rey, Poe, and all those characters. When that first one came out, I was so excited. I was annoying my coworkers. I had a countdown app on my phone. I talked my boss.
Oh no! Oh no!
I talked my boss into letting me, because we got a whiteboard that he uses to give some quick announcements. Like for example, if we're working on the weekends, it says okay, full production on this day. And so I when that came out, I talked him into letting me put a countdown and change that every single day.
You're like, it's not the how many days hazard free,
Yeah.
accident free. It's how many days until we hit the movie.
Right. And so yeah, I mean, when that came out, I was all hyped up, and then now I'm just like, oh, okay, there's another one coming out. That's nice. But yeah, I mean, I'm a little saddened. You have never watched Star Trek. That's
I think I've seen one of the reboot movies, but yeah, I've heard it's just a lot to get in. It's one of those like you really have to invest yourself, and I'm like, maybe in the future when I can go through. And then I've heard like some of the old stuff is just so old where it's a little cheesy, but then like someone that told me like you skip this season and then start here. I'm like, but shouldn't we start at the beginning? So I'm like, oh, there's too many little, and then people are like, well, I skipped through a whole bunch. I'm like, so can you still say that you're a fan if you've skipped through? It's one of those. I'm like, if the Trekkies are confused with their methods, then I'm like, I'm not going to get started yet.
And I would say, I mean, like as far as timeline goes, like of the franchise, you can't start with the original series with Captain Kirk anymore. But I would say
this is one of those.
Yeah, it's
too confusing.
But like I'm the guy that says, okay, you got to start in the timeline that they were created, and I mean because that really sets the value for it. And I like the original. I mean, all of them, the exception of Discovery, because I didn't really care for that, but because that was more focused on the action. At least it appeared to me, the action rather than the story. And so I didn't really care for that too much CGI and effects and all that. But I love the original, and I love the old stuff because of just how cheesy that kind of stuff is. Like
you like the cheese?
I do. My friend in Cal, you saw that post, didn't you?
I know, probably
no.
not.
Okay. Well, no. I put something on Facebook yesterday sharing that it's crazy that we live in a world where some people don't like cheese or something. And yeah, I mean, I think they're quite heathenistic, but cheese is a wonderful thing. But no, like, I don't know. There's something amusing with the whole like 1980s effects of trying to be, you know, the greatest thing. I was like, this is so cheesy.
What's up, Scotty?
Yeah,
Right? That's a line. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. From here, though, Bill, what are you the most creative, and what's the process look like of how you capture that creativity? But more likely, like, I think because you got that scribe, you're really excited that you can both read on it, but you can take notes and ideas. And in the past, you talked about how you would use notebooks, and I think it's really interesting for those watching to hear from two people, yourself and myself, of like, when do you find the creativity? How do you do it? And then how do you actually keep track of it? Because I think a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm really creative, and then they sit down to write, to paint, to draw, to play an instrument, and they're like, I've got nothing. So you need the both. So what does that look like for you?
Chaotic. If you've
like a true artist.
What crossed my mind, and I don't have it right now, but what crossed my mind is there's this picture, I'll have to send it to you, of this guy. He's got like this entire board of papers and like this yarn timeline right behind him, freaking out like he's
yes, that one
yeah.
I've seen it a lot.
That's what I was thinking of, and I was like, that's my process.
It's your note taking. You gotta follow it all up and down,
right? So I mean, as far as organization, like, it's kind of all over. I've got this like binder that I keep, this small one I keep notes in. Actually, I think that's my primary source of where I keep some of the stuff in. But I mean, I have some stuff, some ideas in my mind that I have going on, but I don't really write them down because it's like, I want to do this. We'll worry about that in like 5-10 years when, you know, we can afford it. But
it's better not to write it now,
right?
to be reminded of how we can't get this yet.
But I, you know, as far as the process goes, I don't think there is too much of a process other than, you know, one step at a time. Because I remember somebody saying one of the helpful ways is to think about the final goal of the project and then work your way back. Like, okay, to get to this final piece, like the tablet for the Kindle. You know, to design that, this is what we want. We want this device. Now, what do we need to do to get there? I'm the opposite. I'm the guy that says, okay, what does this button do? Okay, well, how does this little electronic thing work? Okay, what kind of screen do we need? And just basically build from the ground up rather than the way back. So
it's when they say, you should already know the end of your story. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I was going to go on a journey with these characters and just hope I don't quit before we figure out how we want it to end.
That's pretty much how I work. It's like, yeah, we're just going to go on an adventure and hope we get to the finish line. So, yeah, there's really no structure behind that. It's just all everywhere.
Yeah, I think for myself, as I've gotten older, because I did a lot of like singing, songwriting, musical writing, so mostly on the performing side, but I used to have a notebook. So at church, in class, when they'd lecture, I'd just be like writing ideas, and I always liked certain phrases or words, and like currently when I hear them, I'm like, oh, this is how it used to be. When you hear, like, even on the anime, like, you just smile thoughtlessly, and I'm like, oh, I really like that. Like, I want to look into this more to see, not even like what does it mean, but like how can you play around with some phrases that are just like a penny for your thought. I'm like, I like that. I know it has deep historical roots, like, but we don't really say that, but what does that mean, and how can you tie it into usually a song or an idea or a character? So I think, though, nowadays on my phone I have the notes section, the notes app, and because I have an iMac, iPad, like, it puts
together.
It all over. So I'm like, oh, that is really nice. But with songwriting, I found I do better if I actually write it down in a notebook, because there's something, like, as you mentioned, there's something about just having a pen, your hand on a page, and like being able to write it down rather than, you know, on a phone you can write it quick, delete it quick. And like this, I just cross it out so I can still see it, which is helpful because we are ever changing. And I mean, actually, I liked that. Let me circle it, which a crossed out circle means we keep it.
Right.
So like as I'm singing through, I'm like, wow, Michael, you've got a really weird shorthand. Where if someone else sat down, they'd be like, how do you even know where to go? I'm like, I just know. But business-wise, what I've learned, and I'd heard this from my mentor on a podcast or YouTube show that he's on, was in regards to emailing. And I'm testing this out, and I'm like thinking of how I can use this with Fisher Philbrick is he'll write his emails in Google Docs, and then he puts ideas throughout the week, just as you're living life of like, oh, this could be a good topic. Just put it there. So that when you sit down to write, you don't have to first think of a topic. You've got maybe 5 or 6 to choose from.
Yeah.
And then whatever one is resonating with you, he didn't say it like that, but that's,
It's
whatever one you're feeling in that day, then you can start writing. Doesn't mean you have to finish it, but you can kind of do like a start and go, so that just an easy way to actually get to writing, because that's what he had said. A lot of people, when you're emailing, like, you got to email in your business, and it can be daunting for a lot of people, even if you like to write. And so that's something I've been testing out, and I'm like, this actually works. Like, wow.
See, one of the things I thought of, I haven't put into practice yet, but when I was working on my course in Romans, what I was well, actually, no, it wasn't that. What was it? There was something else I was working on, and I used a program, ChatGPT. I used that to create an outline, so that way I could stay focused on the particular topic, and then within that outline, fill in my own information. And so when you got that first structure, what you could do is you've got the primary outline, and then, okay, now that I have this, I've got topic A, topic B. Now, what's in topic A? And make an outline of that. Now, I'm not saying continuously using ChatGPT to continuously do this, but you make an outline of your outline, and then, okay, you make an outline of your outline's outline. And the next thing you know, it's
a
like I'm
dream
done
within a dream within a dream.
Yeah, it's Inception. But yeah, I mean, well, like the concept is really, I mean, if you at least, I would probably say, and it's probably going overkill, I would say make 3 outlines, because two at the most ish. I'll figure that out, because you got your main outline of what whatever it is that you're writing, or your music, for an example, whatever it is that you're developing, and then within that, okay, there's these little segments here. What do I need to accomplish this, or what's the purpose of this? And you just make an outline of that outline, and then boom, you can go ahead and fill in the gaps from that. So I think that's basically help to keep on track. I think that's where we're going with this, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think the main thing that I've seen, and probably Bill, you have too, and anyone, the more you just do it, as far as creating, the better you get, the more you understand, like, when you're more productive, how you create ideas. Because even now, like what the mentor had said, like, he's just so used to knowing, like, how to relate something that happened in his life to putting it in a story narrative format to then relate to his own business to then sell you something. And I'm like, whoa, like that, I do need to break it all apart. And then I just like telling this story, and I'm like, Michael, there needs to be a point. Why are you sharing this? So I'm excited to see that. And I think that's encouragement for people watching too, is like, you might not be the best writer or a content creator or whatever, but you'll never know if you don't start and just hold yourself to like creating a habit out of it. But as we get towards the end of this real quick, what did you do in this past week, or what are you looking forward to doing in this coming week?
Well, this past week, we already talked about the eclipse thing.
That was all.
Yeah.
Highlight.
Yeah, we had that. I mentioned on our podcast that we did together. Had a nice little conversation with an individual. Had theological disagreements, but we were able to come to an agreement. So that was really cool. The Kindle, that's kind of the new thing, and I'm actually really thankful for that, because I think I mentioned to you, my bookshelf is overflowing. That I have books, and I don't have space for books. So I mean, having that has kind of helped. It's not going to do anything for what I have now, but it'll help with any future books. But I don't really think officially. I don't have anything really planned for next week. I haven't decided if I'm going to start on the next course next week, or like if I'm going to go back and refine one of them one of the first ones, improve that. But I mean, something's going to get done. I'll flip a coin later and figure out what. Yeah,
for myself, I chose a date to release the first email course, which I also shared on Bill's podcast. But you guys don't know that, so coming Monday, if this posts Saturday, it'll be in 2 days, I guess you could say, tax day, April 15th.
Yay,
it will be
taxes.
Ready to go, which I told Bill, I'm like, really just to put a flame under me to like finish these last few steps. There's such small things. I feel like sometimes in life those are the harder things. I'm like, give me a huge project to chew through and I will do that. But when it comes to like, you just need to spend like half an hour rereading, fine-tuning. I'm like, oh, that sounds awful. I'll wait till Sunday night or Monday morning, but I won't. But that was a good, like, boom, I'm starting this. And then I found a reel that talked about editing your Instagram profile, kind of dove down the rabbit hole of that. And so I'm excited I bought this lady's masterclass on how she grew to, like, she's steadily growing. So, man, I think that's, like, interesting to see. And I didn't realize, as most things, which I don't know why, like, you can look to those people that are further ahead of you, and it's worth purchasing something if it can get you on the right track to head towards growth. Right. Doesn't mean I'm going to see the same growth as her. No. Because she even sent just today like templates of like, here are reels you can do for the next 30 days. I'm like, oh, this is a lot of work. And she's like, now post about what you've done, what you've done for these people. And I was like, oh, I started a podcast. I'm like, I don't know. Do I need to wait until I have more things I can say I've done? Because I put one bullet point, I've done this and this. And of course I've done more, but it's also as exciting as it is, it's like, oh man, it's going to be a lot of work. Yeah. But I think that's kind of exciting because on my own personal social media, I don't get anything. So like to have that unlocked of like, oh, potentially you could at least get your business account doing well. I'm like, yes. And that's what I'll end with for like what gets me excited about the future, because that is something that I didn't really think. Like I'm just like, it's going to be such a slow journey. I'm never going to have the K after my followers, like 10K, like it'll be like just a couple hundred. But yeah. I think the other thing that had been encouraging was that mentor on their show, they had gone to some like entrepreneurial conference for that group I was in. I was like, oh, it was like $3,000.
Oh, wow.
You have to be rich to go. Like it's one of those. So I'm a little not fond of that. But they were saying this idea of like, if you limit yourself too much, as soon as you hit that number, you're going to think that you're done, or you're going to start freaking out because you didn't expect you'd make over, say, $10,000 in sales, right. Which to me, I'm like, what do you do if you don't even think about that? Like when I was watching, I'm like, I don't even know what I can do with my business. Like I'm just trying to do something.
Right.
But going along that idea, at least with the social media, I'm like, oh, maybe I should set a goal of like, let's try to hit 1,000 followers by the end of this year, which sounds insane. But, that idea of like, I think I need to spend a little more time like thinking a little further ahead of like, where do I think I can go? Because I do think overall it will help like fuel the fire and push things forward. But
yeah, and I think it depends on like the type of content too. Like I remember there was one, I don't remember specifically what it was, but there was a particular post or text or something that I shared on our Facebook page about a year or two ago, and I shared it to the various groups I was a part of, or am a part of, past, present tense. And that particular one, I want to say about 150, maybe 200 followers just from that one alone. And
yeah, crazy.
It was because of what it particularly was, from what I remember, which I don't remember exactly what it was, but because I remember sharing some stuff previously, and nobody was really intrigued with it. So it depends. You really have to know your audience, what they're looking for, and really try to get yourself into their shoes. Okay, I want to provide something for somebody, or whatever that might be. What if I was this person, what do I want? What do I need? And then make it from there.
Yeah, and some of the trends are just weird. Like I posted one today where it's just like, I guess they call it B-roll. So to me, like with a cup of coffee and a cat, and then you need to be sending emails. Look at tips, and then in the tips you add the value. Like it's all this. I'm like, I like where I just talk for a good minute and a half, and
it's a lot easier. I don't have to think about it and just do it.
But do the thousands of people like that? No, they just want to see 7 seconds of me holding a cat and a cup of coffee with a catchy tune. I'm like, to me, that's dumb. Yeah. But I was like, change the mindset, because if it can help the business, then I might, I'm going to try the game out. Let's play the game. And if nothing happens, then I won't call it quits, but I'll be like, okay, I tried at least.
I'm not going to see you on camera doing the whole Carlton dance to the song It's Not Unusual or whatever that song is, am I?
No, I'm gonna keep my clothes on too, because that's always, it's like a joke, but any account where you're like in as little clothes as possible, or even a guy without a shirt on, it's like, oh, whether it's good or bad,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, these people have it so easy. Fitness people, I'm like, just take your clothes off and show off your body.
Right.
Good or bad, because if you start bad, you'll show the progress of getting good, and if you're
Right.
good, you'll get better. And
The guys are liking or this post of a guy, all ripped out because I want to be just like him, and the girls are following it because, oh man, he looks so hot, and vice versa. It's like,
I'm like, don't you want to have an outdoor cat and a cup of coffee?
yeah.
And a jean jacket? Like,
Right.
I don't know. But
like-
close this out. So if you listening will notice, I didn't end with encouragement. So giving Bill a break. But you do have to let us know, just in general, and it can be personal or business, what are you excited about for your future?
For the future, well, yeah, here, business or personal, I would say the future. I mean, it sounds really cliche. It really does. Well, because, like personally, they're like some of the goals, for an example, that I'm personally reaching for is there's particular investments I'm working on. And so I want to get those up to a certain amount to help really cushion my own finances or my own spendings and so on. And also home and pay off my car and there are other stuff people like to do. But as far as the business, to see that established, to see the students signing up and taking the various courses that are offered and will be offered, and I look to that and in the future, of course. I look to that and say, this is at one day in the future, this is where we're going to be, and not for anything that we're doing, but for their sake. So I mean, that's just really exciting to just meditate on that and think about what it could potentially be like 10 years from now. So
Yeah, well, awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to end. And you listening as well, maybe let us know in the comments what gets you excited for your own future. And I think even just listening to that, I think that's
Coffee.
when I hear people. Yeah. I was like, if I do that coffee brand again, I want to do decaf coffee and call it like all day, every day. Why? Because I just want to drink coffee every day, like every moment of the day. And if it's decaf, you can probably get away with that
right?
somewhat.
Not jittery and
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you don't actually need caffeine. That's like a lie. You don't need it, but you also have to do things to make sure that you don't need it. So
Right.
I think a lot of society just wants to just have a cup of coffee. I'm like, I do too, and I don't really care if it has caffeine or not, but I just want to drink it.
Right.
And it's sugary, so it's a problem for me.
yeah. I'm the
The
guy
sweet
that has
creamer.
lots of cream. Right now I got like a chocolate caramel one, but hazelnut's one of my go-tos, and
Oh,
I like a little coffee with my creamer.
And it's too late for either of us to be drinking it, but it sounds delicious.
Oh yeah, big regret. Did that last week. I was up until 2:00 in the morning.
And you didn't even have the Kindle yet to be reading.
No.
Man, well, we'll leave it here. Thanks for everyone following along with us. Go ahead and check out the description to get plugged in with both Bill and myself. Like, comment, subscribe, follow,
All of it.
everything. Do everything to help us out, because YouTube is still taking away my view counts and giving me subscribers, taking them away. It's a screwed up world.
So
But
you say, not cool, bro.
we've got Jesus, so it's okay. Leave it with that, but see you guys later.
Later.